Welcome to another Planning Phase Syndicate. This is episode 133, where we talk about the end of the world. I'm sorry. It is the end of Store Champs season here, officially as of tomorrow. So I doubt anybody's going to hold any store tournaments between Tuesday and Thursday, but officially it is the end of Store Champs. So what does that mean? We get to dissect and look at some of the different factions, their standings, as well as the last of the list for tournaments until there's another one. But really, it's going to be until Sith Takers, I think, is the next big thing that's happening here in the next couple of months. With that being said, let me bring in my co-host for tonight. Please welcome the bench warmer himself, Mr. Alex Jones. How are you today, sir?
Jones. Jesus. I'm doing okay. Middle of the week, so a little tired, but I'm ready.
Awesome. Also joining me is JJ, getting the first dose of Lions failures. Gridiron, how are you doing, sir?
Yeah, it was very, very unfortunate that the Lions lost, man. I was excited to see Barry Sanders in the flesh in the stadium, watching the Lions play, and I had high hopes for them, especially going into half. But it turns out, once you're leading, you just roll all blanks after that, and drop every pass. And yeah, it was pretty bad.
Lions are going to Lions, man. Just took them a little bit longer this year.
Yeah, if you actually go back and watch like some of their, even the last playoff game and the one before that, there's a pattern that we see here. They have a lot of momentum at the beginning of the game, and it's their secondary. It just starts to fall apart. The one thing I can say is Goff was consistent, right?
Yeah,
Goff was not in my opinion, Goff was not the issue. Like a lot of people are trying to say, it's like he was not the issue. He was pretty dead on for almost everything he was doing. This is the shit about sports that drives me nuts. So I'm going to divert. Like right now we could go watch almost any X-Wing game online for free, blah, blah, blah. Like it's nice to give a little bit of a paid subscription to somebody, but you don't have to. You would think you could watch the Lions in Michigan, for Christ's sake, when we're in almost the finals, when we're in semifinals for free. Fuck Fox and Bailey Sports. I'm happy you're going bankrupt. Yep. Blow it. Mm-hmm. You suck horrible. Because I had to sign up for Fubo to get a free trial because I have no other way of watching it. I don't have cable. We don't have cable. I got rid of cable a long time ago. It was one of the costs I felt was a worthless cost compared to what I could get for streaming. And I still, even at this point, even if I went back and decided I wanted to watch sports, I still am not going to eat an $80 a month cost just to watch effing sports. Fuck that. All these people can blow it out their ass.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
100% agree, man.
A little disappointed. That's my Tanner rant of the night. That's probably the only one you'll get because nobody ran Torkel Mux. So we won't get any more Torkel Mux rants. But JJ, you only have to wear that hat 2 more weeks. You got to make up for the weeks you've been off.
Three weeks, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so you got 3 more weeks, and then technically you don't actually have to wear that hat. We were 1 week away from you having to permanently wear that damn hat. 1 week. If we'd been in the Super Bowl, man, you'd be wearing that hat forever.
Oh man, yeah, that would have been a travesty. Oh my gosh, yes.
At least it's an airflow hat, not one of those crappy really thick fitted ones or whatever that you can get.
Yeah.
Especially because you live down south where you can sweat more than those of us in Michigan. Though it's not snowing anymore and the snow's melting, so I don't know what's going on.
It's snowing by me for what it's worth.
Oh, okay. Well, nobody cares about Alex, but it's not snowing in 90% of Michigan. So which is weird though, right? I don't know. My wife said this is just a thaw we get, and then we're going to get hit again in February. So
I'm sure we will. It's Michigan. It's always snow.
Yeah. So I was I was a little excited to see it melt. We apologize. Like I said, the show was a couple of days late. Obviously, it was a Lions game. No offense, but that was that was important.
Literally historical.
Historical significance, yes.
It's a little hard to pass that one up. But what can you do? So let's talk a little bit about X-Wing tonight. So store champs have ended. I don't know if I'm excited or not excited by that. Usually what that means now is Worlds prep. People are going to be preppy for Worlds. So this is, and I'm going to ask you guys, this is kind of what I wanted to start with today. I heard on Gold Squadron that they stated that AMG did not officially tell us that the Battle of Endor will be available before Worlds. I thought they said it was, and I thought they said it would be legal.
Yeah, actually,
Right?
I thought that the pre-order page on Asmodee had the date listed for February 23rd. But
Yeah.
they might have changed since then, so it's been a while.
Okay, so I guess I didn't finish the whole episode. Maybe they changed their stance, but that's kind of what I heard, and I was like sitting there going, "What are you talking about?" Like, I'm pretty sure AMG said this was going to be legal, because that's going to be a big part of our discussions, right? Like, if you have not been testing against Battle of Endor, even if you're not going to run any of those ships, you have to know how some of those ships are going to affect and work against you, especially that Soontir. If it comes in at a hot 5 points, that Soontir is something people are going to, a ship they can easily sub in and take. If it comes in at 4 points, you definitely better know how to fly against it.
Yeah, it's a meta changer, and you definitely want those ships in your list. Like they're ships that are going to be good right out the box, especially if they're costed appropriately to fit a lot of other meta staples for those factions. They're going to make a splash at Worlds for sure.
Yeah, the article doesn't technically say when it's going to be released, but you can still pre-order it off the Asmodee site.
Okay.
And
I thought
February 23rd.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And I thought we had like a whatchamacallit, like there was something like an AMG message somewhere that had stated that about the points discussion, because I thought we covered that like a couple weeks ago, where there was a points. Remember in our whole we had a whole discussion about the leak and stuff like that, and then I think they talked about points, and people were thinking we're going to get a big points change, and I'm saying I don't think you're getting. We're getting these points, and they're going to just hold everything for Worlds. They don't want to be that spicy. It would be super spicy to give us all brand new points, but they probably will not do that.
No.
So anyway, so that's kind of why I think it's a little bit imperative. Like, I want to go through some of the last lists, and then we're going to be getting into, in the upcoming weeks, each of the different factions. We're going to look at what's meta staples, breaking down. We are going to essentially dedicate a whole episode to a faction, and do extreme deep dives into each of them. The question becomes is, do we hold off on Rebels and Empire until we get the new points? So
no, mainly because we want to look at it in a vacuum of the last season so far. But I mean, we can do them last if we want to, assuming that for some reason the new card pack doesn't come out.
All right. Well, before we get into any of that, let's do our roll call segment tonight. Our roll call segment that we are debuting here essentially says, hey, what new pilot or old pilot do we have that could possibly be really good? Tonight, we chose IG 102, which you're going to sit there and say, Tanner, why in God's green earth are we choosing a separatist ship as an underrated pilot? And I'm here to tell you, if you've never played this ship, for what it's worth, its ability is actually pretty bonkers. Like 4 points. If it had a little bit better loadout things, this would be a staple inside of CIS. Now, could you imagine this in like another faction? Like just some of its different abilities? I don't know. So tonight, Alex, what is IG 102?
Yeah, so IG 102 is a CIS rogue class, and it's not Dirge or CAD. It's the other ones. So it has 11 points of loadout, which is exactly enough that you need for Sync Laser Cannon's independent calculations and engine upgrade. You could almost make a case for putting something else on there, but it kind of just builds itself. It only has 2 cannon slots and 2 mod slots. And its ability is, while you defend, if the attacker's initiative is equal or greater than yours, and he's a 4, you may change one blank result to a focus result. And a lot of problems that I've had with rogues, and I'm sure a lot of people have had with rogues, is that they kind of die. They can not like pop, but they die real quick before they have like a serious impact on the game. And this one helps prevent you not dying. Just by, you get, if you have independent calcs, gives you 2 calculates. You're not repositioning, but you have sync laser cannons, so you don't really need to reposition. Worst comes to worst, you have network calculations built right in. So if you have other things around it with network calcs, you can.
Not
use
if
the
you have
ability.
independent. If you have
Right.
independent, it's gone.
Right, that's what I'm saying. If worst comes to worst, we don't have independent calcs. It has network calculates on the card. So if you have a bunch of other things with network calcs, you could use this ability a lot. But I think it's like a solid. I'm bringing another rogue piece, possibly a third rogue, just because it's a little bit more survivable. I don't think it's going to overthrow Dirge in any way, but I think it's a solid, underrated 4-piece for CIS.
Yeah, and I've had it before where I've taken him and stuck him in a precarious situation, let's say, right? Where my rogue is coming in and it's coming in a little hot, kind of like an X-Wing. It can't survive like 5 shots coming into it, but if you're only taking 1 or 2 shots into it, you've got the 2 calculates. You have the ability right there to be able to use your sync laser cannon, deny range bonus, and then you have the ability to use it on defense to essentially, what's the most probable thing you're going to roll? A eyeball and a blank, right? So being able to change that, spend your 2 calculates on defense, makes this thing actually very survivable. I don't know. I think in high level meta, right, where we have high initiatives, this ship shines. If we all of a sudden went down to like I2s and 3s, you probably would put this into the bin, personally.
So, is there a way to? I mean, I don't see why this would work out in the long run, but could you swarm tactics with a lower initiative ship to bring this down and then have it attack at a lower initiative to have his ability proc with more ships?
Yes, but I think the only thing that you can do that with would be like an HMP, and like that's all your points for the most part in an HMP. So
I mean, I guess you could. It just seems a little unnecessary because the only thing that's
Exactly.
like lower than a 4 right now is like Jag, right? Everything else are like Deathfire. Most other things are at 4 or higher.
Okay.
And if they're lower initiative, you don't take the double calculates. You just barrel roll out of their arc, right? So
Yeah.
yes,
True.
not getting shot is better than modding your defense dice.
Now, I will say the one caveat here that I would say, if you have the ability to take Kraken in some way, shape, or form, I would actually exchange independent calculate for electronic baffle, only for the pure fact if you're getting shot at, it's worthless, but you want that network upgrade or the network calculates as well. If you could take contraband, I mean, that would obviously be better, but they're mean and they don't want to give you contraband on this ship for some reason. I don't know why, but
I don't think thematically that makes a lot of sense, right?
it might. I don't know. It's an IG, so
It sucks because you can't get a proton cannon shield upgrade. You're 1
Yeah.
point off.
yeah, somebody thought about that ahead of time, Alex. Somebody was smart about that.
But like sync laser cannons, independent calcs and engine upgrade is a fine loadout. I literally can't think of anything else that'd be kind of useful. I mean, I guess you can go like the ion cannon HLC route if you have Kraken or other independent calcs in there. But kind of at that point, just choose Cad Bane or Dirge.
Yeah, this ship does have a decent dial. If you're and that's the problem is you don't have to take the independent calculate action every turn either. Like you do not have to do that. You 100% can just take the boost. I will tell you the sad part is you don't get the bullseye. So if you have Dirge on the board and Dirge is you don't get to deny the same way. Just make sure you remember that because it'll bite you in the ass. It did me.
Yeah, the nice part is that you don't really need to do a lot of like fancy maneuvering. Like you're not repositioning because you have sync laser cannons, right? You could just shoot someone. The one banks are fine for that kind of stuff. You don't have to set up the bullseye. Bullseye's nice, but this is more of like I'm following this ship and I'm just going to keep shooting it and denying its range bonus kind of thing.
Yeah. Yep. And if it needs to go fast, it can go fast to get away. Otherwise, yeah, it's essentially a little bit fancier version of a X-wing to some extent, right? You get one hards. You don't get one hards on X-wings. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I have a list in CIS I've been kicking around for a bit. That is Dirge, CAD, IG 102, and ZAM. And it's not too bad. I enjoy it. It's not double fire spray, so it's something new.
Yeah, it's just and when we get into our faction discussion, I think that it'll breed us a little bit into why some like 5 ships in CIS just aren't as good as other factions. It's just not. But sync laser cannons on this does make this a 3 dice pretty much all the time. You never have to worry about range. It's always there. So it's a neat little ship. Out of all the IGs, this one is probably the best one in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely agree. It's the just being survivable just makes it better than like IG 101 where you just repair a face-up damage card, right?
Yep. And how much health do you have left when you're doing that? You know, like you're kind of just screwed.
I mean, IG 111's cool, but there's also you have to bullseye things and you're an I1, and you also have to miss. So it's kind of like all antithetical to what you're trying to do there.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
All right, JJ, anything to add before we move on?
I mean, I think this chassis could see some more play, especially if it gets backed up with like a tac droid to help it like keep more calculates or gain more calculates out there. I know independent calculations is a good way to at least give it 2 calculates out there. But feels like one of those pilots that does have a higher potential to stay alive than most people realize. But you know, it just takes a lot more practice. I mean, if you look at what some of the other players have done, my initial thought goes to Miguel Justiano, who brought a 4 rogue class list to what was it, Nova, and made it to the top tables and did very, very well with that list. You know, there's a lot of things you can do with this type of list. So.
Fair enough. How about this, Alex? Do you think we could get this at 3 points if we drop some of its loadout?
Yeah. Would you even want to drop its loadout?
I'll tell you what. If you give me this for 3 points and drop it by 3 points of loadout or 2 points of loadout, I would 100% run this at this for 3 points.
What if you give it 2 loadout so it can have ion cannon, HLC, and independent calcs?
then I would 100% take that at 3 points.
Well, not at 3 points. I mean,
Oh, at 2 points, yeah, or
At
at 4
4.
points, yeah. I would, yeah. If you give me 2 more loadout, yeah, I could go even better. You give me a talent slot and a couple more points of loadout, like, or anything, like give me contraband. I don't know. But yeah, give me 2 more points of loadout. I would actually take this over Cad Bane in a smaller amount, a smaller ship list count. I think the issue becomes in a higher ship list count. It's a lot harder to find that 4 points in this ship when you could just take Turge, or Cad Bane, because Cad Bane fuels off of all the other ships that die. But if
I feel like if you're taking IG 102, you already took Dirge in your list, and you just want another rogue.
Yeah, probably. I'm surprised they've left Dirge alone in CIS, to be honest with you. Like, out of all the things I thought they would have nerfed, it would have been that. Nope.
They have to have something in CIS.
Yeah, I know. All right. Well, that was our discussion, our roll call discussion tonight. New pilot every week until I don't know. Are we gonna do Battle of Endor ones for when they come out because they're underutilized? I think that defeats the purpose, but
yeah.
Either which way, why don't we get into our pattern analyzer segment and let's go through some of the store champs from this weekend. All right, pattern analyzer. The very first one we're going to go over is a world qualifier right out of Australia called CanCon. I don't know if that's the name of the convention, no idea, but it is CanCon, or maybe that's a place. I don't know. They didn't have as many people show up. They had 32 to 36, somewhere around there. So decent size showing for Australia. They had one faction that they did not report what it was. So there is that. FO showing the highest faction performance because there was so
the one guy that brought it did really well.
And one guy brought it, did real well. No CIS lists to be found.
It could have been one of the unknown, or it could have been that unknown list, but yeah, it's still, I mean, it's very likely nobody brought CIS, which is very sad.
They brought CIS, but didn't want anyone to know, so they just didn't report the list. Get on it, Ron.
It would never be on the record.
Ugh, don't do that. I need to know better CIS lists for Worlds.
Zam and 3 rogues. I'm telling you. More fun than you expect.
I know it's sad. Maybe give me Grievous at 4 points too. Anyway, all right. So now detracting here. They had a few scum lists. None of them that did super well. Resistance probably had the largest showing, right, for what it could do. Resistance showing a lot better over Empire there for the weekend. We're not going to get into top pilots tonight. We're just going to be talking about the actual list because there is quite a few lists, and I wanted to make sure we kind of went through some of them. They did a top cut to 8, but they had quite a few other 3 and 2s that went in there. Some lists you're gonna see, and you're gonna be like, "What's that?" And then there's a list in there that has a defender, and I'm very proud of that list for making cut. So the guy went 4 and 1 on the day. Very happy to see that defender in there. I don't think I'll be happy if I have to play against it, but very happy to see a defender in there, as well as a very janky resistance list that went 3-1-1 and still made top cut. And we're definitely going to be talking about that list tonight because I don't understand it, and hopefully Alex can put some understanding into it. Also making an appearance is a not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but a 7-ship Republic list, which I did not know you could actually fit in all together, but you can. So we're going to be talking about that list too tonight, because I did not know you could put 7 ships in there, and he went 3-2 with it. So I'm going to say that's a pretty good record for that type of a list. So to begin with, I'll kick it off so that you all don't have to read the boring list. The winner of the whole tournament, congratulations, Matt Deering, took a standard Han build, except for no chopper, but has trick shot. But essentially took the Han, Luke, Wedge, Keo, and Sabine build. The main difference is you're going to see Lone Wolf concussion missiles on Keo, which we've seen before. But that is a little bit of a change. And then they must love their crack shot, because they put crack shot on Wedge.
I mean, that's the loadout I would do on Wedge.
All right. I do not like it. But yeah, they put crack shot and marksmanship right into Wedge as well there. So who wants the runner-up, Mr. D.D. Sutton? Sutton there?
I feel like JJ should get that one.
Yeah, I'll do that one. So we got a Empire list here. We got Battle Yav Invader with Soontir Fel with Marksmanship, Ruthless, and Shield Upgrade. Tomax Bren, the standard loadout version with Major Rhymer with Feedback Ping, Cluster Missiles, Proton Bombs, and Scale Bombardier, followed by Deathfire, the standard loadout version here. I gotta say, I think this was the correct call for Major Rhymer, mainly because you do have Deathfire that can use his ability to launch that proton bomb, which it gives you the likelihood for Major Rhymer to get that back ping target lock and then set off those cluster missiles. And with Major Rhymer's ability, he can increase the range of the cluster missiles up to range 3, so he's more likely to get the double shot off of the cluster missiles with his ability, combined with Deathfire's bomb going out there. So that's definitely a really nice way to guarantee like a double tap with Major Rhymer and cluster missiles there. You got those 2 I6s with Vader and Soontir Fel being able to go in and do some damage. It's definitely a very, very aggressive list. Soontir Fel can do quite a bit of work with Ruthless going into those bombers to use them to damage them, most likely using Deathfire as that Ruthless battery and getting some damage in there.
Yeah, so I think the interesting, so I have a question. Does feedback ping for your being able to take that target lock? So if Deathfire goes 1 forward or whatever, and then the 3 forward and then launches it, that's going to be well beyond where Rhymer probably is. If Rhymer's behind Deathfire, can Deathfire or Rhymer still pick up those locks even if it's beyond range 3?
So the feedback ping would trigger after the enemy ship executes a maneuver and is in range of the bomb. So as long as Major Rhymer has them in arc after they move and most likely, near the bomb, then Rhymer can pick up that target lock onto that person that goes near the bomb that Deathfire launched.
Also, feedback ping ignores range restrictions.
Yeah,
well, that's what I was asking. That's what I wanted to know. Because you can still slow roll, right? Like all you're doing then is slow rolling with your Rhymer. That way, Rhymer can pick up the lock well in advance and have a double modded cluster missile.
Yeah. And that also makes Rhymer the objective grabber in this list too, because he can reliably get that target lock off a feedback ping and still use his action to get a crate or scramble like a point if he needs to, and still have the offense that he needs to shoot that cluster missile off.
Yeah, I like feedback ping. I think it's super cool. I like the cluster missiles. It just sucks if you have to throw that bomb with Deathfire just to get feedback ping, I think you're playing Deathfire wrong. Because you're just kind of hanging them out there and then they just kind of kill them really fast.
Yeah.
But it is useful when you have 2 other people also carrying bombs, including and yourself, You got the ion bombs, the proton bombs, and then Rhymer also has proton bombs with Skill Bombardier. So you can do a 2 bank and then do a 3K, and then they move, and then they're eating the bomb, and then you got locks. So it's just kind of an easy way to trigger it yourself as well. And a lot of high initiative. I mean, you got Vader Soontir. Tomax had 5. Deathfire's 2, but that's kind of the feature. And then, Reimer doing some work.
Yeah, it just sucks with Soon's here because you can't get your Predator. I want my Predator and my shield upgrade. Give me that.
That's what the Ruthless is for.
Yeah. I guess. I do like me some Terrafell, though. I'll tell you that. So, all right, let's move on to the next list. Looks like we got a Ray list here. Of course, hello. But we got a Ray list here. What's going on with that, Alex?
Yeah, so in third place, you have a Resistance list that has Ray.
And Dead
Maybe
Man
they
Switch.
listened to the podcast a couple weeks ago, hopefully. It's got Ray with Heroic, Rose, Finn, Deadman, Engine Upgrade, and the title. It's not Novice Tech, but okay. 9 Nub with Heroic, Watchful Astromech, S-Foils, and Proton Torpedoes. I'm assuming that's like R4, right? Like that's not Watchful Astromech. Like no one's going to do that, right? Because you don't have a reload or a rotate action, so it's literally useless. I'm sure that's R4.
Yeah.
You got Snap with Heroic, also Watchful, which I'm assuming is also R4 Astromech, and Homing Torpedoes. And then Elo with Marksmanship, Heroic, and Plasma Torps.
Oh, good. No Watchful Astromech this time.
Yeah, just flinging off those unmodified, single modified torps, baby.
So what is Watchful Astromech going to help you even do?
It has to be not Watchful Astromech, right?
It has to be R4. Yeah. And so essentially, if they reload or rotate a turret, then they gain a calculate, which neither one of these X-Wings can do. So
if you're at a ship's arc, you could do a red calculate action, which is 100% not what that is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got to be like R4 because that's the same price and right next to the button.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is hard. It's Ray. You got 3 I5s and the I4 being Snap. The Homing Torpedoes is a call. You're throwing 4 dice at range 1 anyways, so maybe you're trying to get it at range 2 and they just take the crit. I'm not exactly sure. But it does have a lot of spike damage and auto damage, I guess, with the Homing Torps. You just have to really approach that correctly, right? Because the Plasma Torps on LO, you pick up, and then next turn you shoot with the focus pod. Like, you're not getting double. You kind of can with 9 Nub setting up the Proton Torpedoes like that, but you don't have Pattern Analyzer, so never mind. You're not doing it.
Yeah.
You just have an I5 Pro Torp, which is what Ray is anyway, so a lot of spike damage. I'm sure that's why he hit really hard.
Yeah, like for me, honestly, I prefer 9 Nub to take full advantage of his ability. And Chris knows, the pattern analyzer is absolutely like integral for 9 Nub to really take advantage of his ability there. I get why they're doing it this way. You don't just have 9 Nub shoot the proton torpedoes, but it almost makes me feel like you could substitute 9 Nub then in that case. Just to like maybe put in something cheaper, but I don't know where you could really finagle the points for anything else really. I'm personally more of a fan of putting R2 Astromech on 9 Nub instead of proton torpedoes. That gives them a little bit more survivability, and you still have room to put in pattern analyzer and elusive or keep heroic, however you like, on there. But still, they did very, very well with this. That Ray build is absolutely deadly. I mean, you're almost printing 3 hits every single time. And she's a beast to take down. Deadman Switch is sneaky because Ray can be super, super aggressive. And if she's in the middle of all your list and you take her down, she's going to do 1 extra damage to everybody else around her. And that big base, man, that can reach really big distance there. So, but yeah, solid list.
All right, so let's move on to the next one. DevRam brought a 6-ship list. We have SOC Jag and Oddball. Build your own wolf with R4P, VTG, and expert handling. Click with marksmanship, R3, Besh title, and seismic charges. Slider with dedicated, and Contrail with sworn tactics, R7A7, Sync Council, and the S title because you didn't have the points to put into the Besh title, I guess.
You have a sync council.
What?
You did because you have a sync council. But go on, sorry.
Yeah, I'm super. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm super confused why you would pick that droid over other ones. But yeah, I don't know how you don't find the 1 point to give to Besk. Like Besk is like I don't, and you're not running bombs, right? So I don't know. I don't quite understand it because essentially you you can use it to inflict ions, but you don't have anything to guarantee you're going to get ions, right? Or is that what that astromech, I guess,
R7A7 gives you the crits so you can do the Besh, or not the Besh.
I guess.
Title. Yeah,
that feels like a waste of our force.
Yeah. I mean, but sometimes you can really like cripple a ship that relies on like being able to outmaneuver people. Sincere Fell, for instance, right? If you manage to get that ion onto Sincere Fell, you're gonna make sure Sincere doesn't get away from the pursuit the next turn, and you can really kill a ship that way. Or Vader, that really depends on having that target lock on there. If you get that ion on him, sure, he has the shield, but
don't you have to get in there though? Like you got to be able to throw 3 dice.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sorry if you're at range 3 or even range 2 throwing 2 dice, the probability you're getting that ion off is very low.
Yeah, that's true.
And like you can't even guarantee you're knocking off like a lock from like an opposing oddball, right? Because they have to be fully ionized for it to do that. You need 2 crit tokens for that.
Yeah.
And you can only spend that droid for 1. So if you don't roll any other crits, you're only getting 1 out of it. I don't know. It's gimmicky, I guess.
Luke, I guess. But yeah, I mean, you're swarm tacticing Jag up because other people have done that, and I guess that makes the most sense, right? I just that contrail hurts me so much, and like the Sync Council is not even. You're not even like doing anything super or crazy with it, right? I mean, I guess you can Sync Council Jag up, shoot with Jag, shoot with Oddball, get the lock with Jag. No, that's backwards. So you shoot with Oddball, then you shoot, and it gives Jag a lock. Jag shoots, then passes his lock off to Contrail, who then shoots, and Jag reacquires a lock. That's really convoluted. But you can do it. Yeah. I'm assuming that was the gimmick, is they can transfer the I5 target locks if you swarm tactics Jag up with Contrail.
Watch this person. They're because they got the invite for Worlds. Watch one of us get paired up with them. Like that would be hilarious.
I'd be fine with that. Yeah, that's an interesting list. I mean, it's beefy, if anything, at least, right?
I think it shows the power that you have in Republic is you could take 3 of your points and do that with it, right? Like I don't think the Wolf is. There's nothing wrong with the way they did Wolf. Click is whatever. I mean, I'm not a super big fan of Click myself, but I can understand why people like Click. In this list, I guess you're clicking one of the 3, yeah. One of the 3 of them. I guess that's what you're doing.
My scum list loves Click. Let me tell you. Free
I bet it
locks
does.
that are already on my opposing ships.
Yeah. So I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. The next one, Crumbfish. We got a sighting of Rexler Blaff again. JJ, what is Crumbfish running?
So we got an Empire list here. We got Rack coming in with Ruthless, Darth Vader, Death Troopers, Agile Gunner, Electronic Baffle, and the Dauntless title. And then we got an appearance of Rexler Brandt in the TIE Defender with Juke Fire Control System and Cluster Missiles. Then we got Tomax Bren, the standard loadout version, and then Major Rhymer with Saturation Salvo, Barrage Rockets, and Ion Bombs to round off the list there. Definitely a really interesting setup here, right? You got your two 7-point ships, one in Rack and the other one in Rexler. They both do very, very different things, but I think they actually pair very, very well, especially if you get the Death Troopers off reliably, or even Vader, right? Because if you Vader somebody, they're forced to spend a token. So if you manage to do that and Rex shoots at that ship, you're likely to get the full advantage of Juke on Rexler being able to convert and evade into a focus. And since they don't have a token to convert, you're likely to get damage through. And the best part about it is that that also pairs into Rex's ability to essentially choose a card to flip for a crit for his ability, as long as he has that that evade token on him, and then you could just pile on there with Rack. So it's a nice combination there. And the other part about it too is just having that Tomax with plasma torpedoes that can take off the shields if it lands on there. So you're likely to take the shields off, get a good shot in with Rack, and then finish off with Rexler in there. And you could possibly take off a ship at Initiative 5 with just those 3 shots. And then Reimer's in there with Saturation Salvo, just making sure that they can finish off anybody who's left over. So it's a very, very nice offensive piece.
Yeah, like it's a little different take that we haven't specifically seen before. So
yeah.
If only you had a few more points, you could take Vader in it, you know. Soon you'll be able to put Jendon in there. And if Jendon comes in cheaper, you'll have another point to play with.
Yeah, for real.
All right.
I prefer Diamond Boron missiles on Rexler if you're going to bring a missile, right? But cluster missiles I can see with the Vader and Ion stuff because you get Juke off both of them, which is cool. And you probably don't want to flip over cards on your rack as you're shooting people with your Diamond Boron missiles.
No,
or not,
probably not.
Extra damage, not flipping over cards, not concussion, but still, like, that's a fun list. I like Rexler. He's cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to the next one. What is DFI running? I think this is similar. Cody, I think, played around with this a little bit.
Sort of, I guess. A little bit, yeah. So this is a 4-ship FO list, and it has Kylo in the silencer with Malice, Crackshot, Sensor Scramblers, and Proton Torpedoes. I've seen this build before. I don't remember where, but I've definitely seen it before, and it seems okay enough. Maybe it's because I play Cody enough, but man, I really love extreme maneuvers on Kylo. It gets you out of all situations, lets you engage so much better. And then you got Rush with Crackshot, Fanatical, Advanced Optics. Once he takes a damage on him, he's very much more scary. Now he's being an I-6. And you have more I-6s with Major Vonreg, with Crackshot, Deuterium, and Magpulse warheads. And then Malorus with Magpulse warheads. So you got 2 I-5s and like an I-6.5 with Rush. And triple Crackshot to push a lot of damage through. In the right hands, that list can be very scary. And I like the advanced optics on Rush a lot because at I2, you're either spending that focus token on defense or you're not, and you just get a free conversion. And it works really well with Fanatical.
It does, actually. Crackshot, not super sold on, but I guess you have it right for once you become the I-6, then it works. Then it immediately becomes active. And I'll tell you, like, is if you cannot kill Rush, once you give Rush the damage card, you might regret that. Like, I've had it before where I've flown against a Rush and like it's like, oh, move your I2. And it's like, no, I do not have to. And you're like, shit. And then here comes Rush doing like a one hard, and you're like, oh my god, Rush is right behind me, you know. So
Yeah, if you're gonna kill Rush, you better fully commit.
yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I wonder if he's playtested Blackout and he's just like, nah, I like Rush better.
Yeah, I think it's probably just that secret I6 piece that people really like. You get really aggressive with Rush, and then Rush becomes an I6. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
All right. What's scary, if you think about it, though, what's scary is those chassis. You got 3 of those or 2 of those in there. Man, those silencer chassis are just so good.
The secret is
Yeah.
you just kill Kylo.
Yeah.
Especially
Well,
when you don't have extreme maneuvers. Much easier to trap. Can't just like one hard boost 5 straight next turn.
Yeah,
But it hits
exactly.
really hard. Like all those ships, other than like Malorus, but you're not bringing Malorus to hit hard. All of them can hit pretty hard. There's a lot of control with the double mag pulse.
Yep. All right. Our next list is Brendan with a resistance list. 4 Y-Wings, Yeager, and Elo. So we have Chorus Capellum with Dorsal and Wartime Loadout. Lega Foss with Diamond Borons and Wartime Loadout. Shaza with Alex's absolute favorite upgrade. ATP, Dorsal, Wartime Loadout, and Cluster Missiles. Which I think your Cluster Missiles and your ATP just like are going to screw you. It's going to screw you over because you can't shoot Cluster Missiles at range 0. You just can't.
Well, you select which like weapon you're shooting with, so it can
yeah.
either be your front arc or your cluster missiles if you have a lock on someone. For what it's worth.
All right, I guess.
Still bad. Don't do it.
Then we have Zori with Marksmanship, Dorsal, R4, Wartime, and Thread Tracers. Because he didn't want to take plasmas. I guess it sets up locks for everybody else. So then we have Yeager with Heroic Concussion, Marksmanship, Targeting Computer, Kaz's Fireball, and Elo with Plasmas, Heroic, and Marksmanship. I don't know how this list works. I think I would lose to this list.
It's a lot of beef. We saw a similar list in our stream when a couple of weeks back for the Atomic Empire Store Championship. Very similar list with this. Those Y-Wings can absolutely take a lot of punishment and deal a lot of punishment back. You're essentially using Zori to set up the ordnance locks for everybody else in this list. And she can do it pretty well since she's able to double mod pretty easily with her ability. Although I think, I mean, you can pretty much guarantee the locks with her if you get that bullseye lined up, because she has that marksmanship along with the wartime loadout. So you can essentially use a thread tracer on somebody. If you're in the bullseye, you use marksmanship, and then your opponent can't do anything to cancel that crit. So you're going to guarantee all those target locks for everybody else in the list there for you. So it does have its utility there, and those Y-Wings just take a lot of effort to take down with the wartime loadout on them, just having the additional shields on them. So it's definitely a lot to try to take in there. Main problem though is that once Zori starts going down, and you don't have a way of double modding those shots, the offense just drops off significantly with this list.
So kill Zori is the answer to this list.
Yeah, Zori is definitely the priority for this particular list, just to take away the threat tracers on there. The Y-Wings do have enough health to really to just do target locks and try to get shots off that way. but they're just not going to have the same time on target, and they're going to have a trouble to like keep pursuit. I mean, they do have that dorsal turret arc on the side, but it's just not the same of getting like ordnance off, especially with wartime loadout on.
Yeah, I mean, this is just like just hoping that you just don't have enough like guns to just chew through all that health, because that's what, like 36. I mean, you effectively have 5 health on the fireball because it comes in damage, right? So it's 41 plus the 7, so you get 58 health or 48 health, right? So that's a lot to go through. They have 1 agility, so it's not that difficult, honestly. I don't know. Every time I play a Zori Bliss, she just dies in like 2 rounds.
Yeah,
To
I mean,
get both munitions shot off for what it's worth, but
would you guys consider putting swarm tactics on either Zori or Elo to get Chorus up there to steal tokens to
No,
make things hit harder?
I wouldn't run this list personally. I would not be good enough to run this. So,
yeah, having the whole gimmick kind of relying on having Zori shoot the threat tracers kind of really ruins a lot of things. Like, you have to. I mean, maybe it's good against something like Rack, right, where it's like really easy to just shoot a lot of things at them.
Yeah,
But if you don't have, like a big fat juicy whale ship just in the middle of your board, and you just straight joust list. Like,
yeah, that's true.
yeah, I mean, I don't
I mean,
know,
you would
like,
think that this list will be super vulnerable to like ion bombs, right?
or like Han in general,
Or Han, yeah, Han
like
would
anything
definitely
that can maneuver, anything that has any sort of control, like any sort of ion torps, ion cannons. I mean, plasma torps just rips through Y wings real fast, and those are super popular right now.
because they be cheap.
Yeah, and they
Yeah,
come
over
standard
there.
with Tomax too.
Hmm.
So
True.
you think, I don't know, maybe it's susceptible to a lot of matchups. I think this like is a super matchup dependent list kind of thing. Like, you either get super lucky and you're just like, oh cool, I'm just gonna annihilate this one particular list. Otherwise, it's like, oh, I feel like it'd be not too bad against not triple arc Republic lists, right? Because they just only have a bunch of 2 die guns and they might not be able to eat through it all. Like that list we're going to go through a little bit later. I'm just a little bit baffled. Also, please don't take ATP. Although it's kind of funny, I guess, with Shaza, if you shoot at her and she took the calculate but didn't spend it, you can pass out more calculates. That seems really convoluted.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's just I have 48 health. Joust me, please, kind of list.
yeah.
All right, let's move on. We keep moving. Let's keep moving. Yes. So the next one we could kind of skip. The next one is just the rack list that we've been talking about with Faroff and the 3 bombers. I don't see anything different on either of these, so it's your Faroff Ruthless 000 list. Seems very similar. Then we have Alex Chopper is running a unique-ish build for Poe and Nina that I've not seen either. So what is this resistance list, please?
Oh boy. Okay, so this is Falcon Poe with Trick Shot, Heroic, Freelance Slicer, Ray Gunner, Contraband, Engine Upgrade, and the Title, which I have never seen on any Falcon Poe I've seen in my life. The Freelance Slicer allowing you to, while you defend before attack dice are rolled, you can spend a lock you have on them to roll a die. They get a jam automatically, but on a hit crit result, you also get a jam. which is, I mean, I guess if you're spending your lock, you're not too bad. I guess you have Ray, but man, that's really unnecessary. I mean, I guess it works against other like I6s if you're going against a Vader, but that's super niche. Anyways, it also has 9 nub with heroic pattern analyzer, R5X3. That is the one that lets you just go on obstacles. And spare parts canisters and jamming beam. So I guess specifically, R5X3 lets you ignore obstacles before you activate or engage. So it's 5 points though, but I guess you can like trigger it and then 3 Talon roll through a rock and then pattern analyzer a boost somewhere and get rid of the stress and not take any damage or something from that. Seen it before, but that was when they were not nearly as destructive. Then you have Elo with heroic M9G8 and marksmanship, and then Lulo with Starbird / Lone Wolf shield upgrade. 4-ship Republic list. 3 I5s and Falcon Bow at I6.
Yeah, I mean, I think that R5X3 really opens up the dial for Neenum because that pretty much lets him go anywhere he wants. He no longer has to worry about obstacles so much. And on top of that, the spare parts canisters, in addition to breaking the locks or regenning a charge for R5X3, can potentially set up a trick shot for Poe if you place it just right. And that could be pretty big if you can get a big I6 shot from Poe. And Neenum just being able to outmaneuver people just really helps you get around the field and terrify people. Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not a big fan of Starbird / on Lulo.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't.
Agreed.
I don't like Starboard / in general. It's better to have on higher initiative though, for what it's worth. But yikes, don't land in someone else's arc. I mean, you can choose not to use it, right? But like, you think marksmanship would be a little bit more poignant for just objectives in general, as opposed to like a strain token.
You would think. One would think, Alex. One would think.
Man, I hope they're M9G8ing Lulo, but they're probably doing it on Poe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got the reroll with that and Ray, and then the freelance slicer to jam them.
I would actually. How about this? I would see somebody put this on the table. I'm confused. I'm still confused by the spare parts canister, but
You get the other charge back, baby.
I guess I don't know. Anyway, let's go to the 7-ship Republic list. JJ, what is that list? And what that is the final one we're going to cover for this store champ or world qualifier.
So I got to know there's not a single ARC 170 in this list, which is fantastic. So we got Siege of Coruscant Axe in the Torrent Fighter with Deadeye Shot and Barrage Rockets, Boost in the Z95 with Sync Console and Expert Handling, Slider in the Z95 with Sync Console and Fire Control System, Kickback the other Torrent with Diamond Bar Missile and Munitions Failsafe, Oddball in the V-Wing with the Best Title, Sync Console, R4P Astromech, and Plasma Torpedoes, and then Contrail with Ion Bombs, the Best Title, Sync Console, and Swarm Tactics, and then Anakin Skywalker, the Siege Coruscant version with Malice, Ancillary Weapons, Ion Weapons, and R2D2 to round off the list here. Definitely a really interesting way to. It just kind of reminds me of the old Z95 Swarm with the LAT, where they just basically shoot ordnance and pass on the lock consistently. You could definitely do that, starting with Oddball in this list, who wants to grab a lock and shoot an ordnance out there. He basically just rolls what he needs and just hangs onto that lock, and that enables everybody else down the line to grab that lock and take shots there, with Kickback and Axe being the two outliers out there, and Anakin as well. but definitely a really solid list here. You got a lot of bodies out there on the board there. Granted, they're low health. Those Z95s only have 4 health, and same thing with the V Wings as well. Or they have 5 health, I think. But you can cover the board very, very well, and they actually can put out quite a bit of offense.
You've seen this list before, because I remember being like, that boost and slider is rough. That same guy has flown it back in November, but he had Swarm Tactics on Contrail back then. Better choice to just have. No, it's same Swarm Tactics. Sorry, there's something slightly different, but it's a 7 chip list. Yikes. Just because of everything's at 4 health except for the Torrents at 6 and Anakin at 3, right? So it's just be very, very careful and roll well.
Yeah.
All right. That concludes that. Let's move on to the store champ that we have here in Canada at Abyss Games in Quebec, because this is definitely not in the non-French Canadian district. They had a top cut that came through here with Octopus Crime, not Prime, but Crime, because we'll play on their words there.
Pretty sure that's what we do with the Wings games.
Is it?
We throw octopi onto the ring.
I don't know. Do they do that anymore because it's expensive and you can get ejected and like permanently banned from the.
They're ruining my heritage.
Just telling you. I did not. How about this? My father would have literally told me, Tanner, you want to throw how much money onto the arena ground? Now, if you could get them for like $1, he wouldn't care. But man, if you had to spend even $10, my father would have been like, you know how many Cokes and peanuts you can get for that, son? And back in the day when we were growing up, like you could get a lot of Cokes and peanuts for $10, compared to now. Now you can't. Now you get like 1 Coke and nothing else for $10. So
why did that start? Who knows?
I don't know, but that's a good. We're gonna keep moving because I don't know the answer to that. Tell us what Mark brought, Alex.
Yes, it's a close enough to 5T70 resistance list. You have the very typical build of Zori with Plasma R4 Dorsal Wartime. You got the very traditional build of LOSC with Heroic Marksmanship R68, but they also threw Jamming Beam on there because they remember of 1 more point. You got Jess Pava with M9G8 Electronic Baffle, Veniza Doza with Barrage Rockets Marksmanship, and then Snap Wexley with Pattern Analyzer, Lone Wolf, and Jamming Beam, which I can respect, but I'm not sure how much that Lone Wolf triggers, because if you're flanking with Snap, that's fine.
He's coming in quick.
Yeah, sure. Like you can get behind lists. You just have to hope they don't turn in immediately on him and just nuke him right off the board.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like this list. It's what we've been seeing, so
it's different enough that I can enjoy it.
Yeah, it's funny the Jamming Beam on LO, like because you have those 2 points, right? Like because you have Marksmanship, you could dump Marksmanship. I don't know, and pick something else, but I don't know if it matters. So, Jamming Beam is the upgrade you pay a point now to not use. All right. The next one we have is similar to a list I've been running, except for they ran Cluster Missiles Malorus instead. Remy took First Order to the 3rd place with Lou Hughes, Barrage Rocket Guy, and then they had the standard, we call it the standard loadout Kylo Ren, except for it has Brilliant Evasion.
That's what everyone brings.
But you could put Fanatical, so you don't have to put Brilliant Evasion. You could.
But my Brilliant Evasion, it triggers once every couple tournaments.
Okay. Mine has never triggered on Kylo Ren, ever. I used to think it would, and it never did. It was worthless for me. Midnight with Predator and Crackshot. And then Von Rag with Crackshot, Deuterium, and Magpulse warheads. Again, I'm surprised you don't just put Magpulse on Malorus too. I mean, really having that I5 and I6 be able to strip tokens and neuter the offense is really good, actually. Magpulse is a very underrated weapon that people, because like, you know, the best part is sometimes a lot of people be like, oh, you're not going to shoot a 3-die, you know, range 1 with Malorus. It's like, no, I don't want you to shoot a 4-die freaking gun back at me. So here, have 3 dies instead. Oh, and I don't want you to have a token either, because you're just going to hold the damn token the whole time. So people don't realize it's a good defensive tech. Anyway, so kind of standard FO build. Like I said, the Midnight's a little bit different. The Predator, Crackshot, Midnight, that's just a little bit more aggressive Midnight. But I run the Fanatical Proud Tradition Midnight, which you get. This one is going to give you a little bit more reroll offense than the one I run. So, JJ, what did Damien bring?
So Damien brought a rebel list here that does not have either Han Solo and no Luke Skywalker. So we got Hera Syndulla with the X-23 threat tracers and the munitions failsafe in the A-Wing, Lando Calrissian flying the Falcon with Neenum, Perceptive Co-Pilot Bistan, and the Millennium Falcon title, Bodica in the Fang Fighter with Predator, Beskar, Mando Optics, Sabine Wren in the TIE Fighter with Beskar reinforced plating, and then Wedge in the A-Wing with Predator and Marksmanship to round off the list there. Got pretty solid amount of ships here. You got 5 ships here with this particular list here. Hera being able to set up the threat tracer target locks for everybody, so that way they can be double modded when they need to. Lando being able to provide Hera with an extra token to pass around there, probably like an invade token, and has Perceptive Co-Pilot to double focus himself as well. And this really opens up the offensive potential for Bodica and Wedge at I4 to go in and deal some pretty good damage on the opposing ships there. So definitely a very solid utility list. I would think this list probably likes to fly together pretty well, although Lando can coordinate from a distance. But this is a very solid block here between Hera, Bodica, and Wedge that can go in there and do some serious work.
Man, you have Lando in there. You probably don't need the tracers on Hera. You can just bring the Magpulse. You can have the double modded Magpulse. It's fine. Also,
yeah, I like
super
Magpulse
missed
better.
opportunity to actually have Keo with Prockets in there, where you can reposition at I5 and actually get a double modded Procket shot off.
Yeah, that's true.
So sad. But I love me some Lando, and Lando works super well in Heratani lists.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I think if we see too many points changes with Han and stuff like that, we'll start seeing Lando pop up. So,
or Battle of Vendor. Lando.
Well, yeah, we're definitely gonna see that come into play. All right, Store Champ down in Massachusetts. I don't know actually who technically won. I think technically Matt won by 1 point, but I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember because it was like 4 days ago when I built this. I have a showing from Maui joining the ranks there. But looks like our winner is running our typical Vader rack list with 3 bombers and Vizier with 000, but instead it's got Moth Gerard in there. I did not know that fit. How many points is Moth Gerard?
7.
Oh, it's because it's Vizier, not Farof.
Yeah, it's Vizier. Yeah.
Okay, so JJ, why Moth Gerard? Is it just so that they could get the free boosts?
Yes, exactly. So you can get a boosting rack that can
Remember the good times.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You can get a boosting rack, you can get boosting TIE bombers, and that works really, really well, especially with Deathfire, getting the boost and then doing like a 3 straight blue to set up a proton bomb launch that can do a lot of work there. The sad thing is that it doesn't work very well with Vizier, mainly because for ailerons to work on Vizier, you need to not be stressed. So, I mean, sure, he has his own ailerons that essentially works as a boost, but he can't do like a double boost with Vizier, unfortunately. But still, very sneaky bit of tech. And if you're not prepared to see a boosting rack coming at you during the system phase, yeah, that's going to be hard to really anticipate to see how that's going to happen.
So I have a weird question. If they don't have this, but if on rack, if they had electronic baffle, Jared Gerard though happens at the system phase, right? Not the
Exactly.
end phase. Okay, so it really
Yeah.
wouldn't matter.
Yeah. But
I
still,
guess
I
you get
mean,
rid of your dauntless stress if you did the bump or whatever.
yeah, and the other part of it too is, with the other TIE bombers, right, with Tomax and Reimer, they can essentially turn into like the TIE bombers, right? They can boost and then drop a bomb and then perform a maneuver. So that is a kind of a way to do that. That'll be cool if they had like mines where they could take advantage of that. But still, it's a very solid list.
So can you boost with Deathfire
Yes.
and then drop your bomb, right? Too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. That Connor net, it seems extra spicy now, right?
Yeah. Yep. That's what I was
Especially 'cause they have the
thinking.
bendy ones too, right? So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
all your boosts have to be in the same direction. That's the only
Yeah.
caveat there, and they're all
Yeah,
red for what
exactly.
it's worth.
Oof. All right. The next list, JJ, what is
So
that CIS list?
so we got our first CIS list of the night for all these tournaments. Jeez. So we got Sam Wessel in the fire spray with the Slave One title, Command Cybernetics, Notorious, and Count Dooku. Dirge with the title, Seismic Charges, Proton Cannons, and Contraband. Grievous with the title, Impervium Plating, Shield Upgrade, and Marksmanship, and then DGS-047 in the HMP with the Stabilizers and Hondo Onaka. I love that particular combo. I think DGS-047 with Hondo is so good. Just being giving you that flexibility of either jamming your opponent or coordinating your own ships if you set yourself up with target locks early on. It really gives a big boon to this list here to help them either be double modded or get into the perfect position to outmaneuver your opponents there. That Sam Wessel can be particularly dangerous with Notorious, and that Force being able to take advantage either of the double tap or just getting a free target lock mod onto the opponents and have double modded shots. So it's very very good. I like this list a lot.
We're gonna ignore the fact that that guy was on our team for NCX, right? Cold
Oh,
Brutus.
yeah.
Did he play
That's-
CIS?
He did not, because that went to Chris.
Right, and then we switched it up. I forgot who went after.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember who had CIS after, but man, jeez, congrats.
Yeah, congrats.
All right. Sorry. Let's move on to the next one. Huzzah! Hobbies in Virginia. They had no top cut, but they had a 5-round tournament. So there was an extra round thrown in there, kind of making it a little bit more spicy for the people going. I like this. How about this? These top lists for these ones are actually pretty cool. Like for the most part, like they're definitely different than we've seen before. Especially number 2 is just like I've not seen that list at all before. So I don't know who Alex, what list do you want?
Yeah. So I like the first list. That is like a Heratonic list I kind of play. So it has Hera with Hopeful and Magballs, which is my preferred upgrades there. Yeah, it's Sabine with Beskar. You have Boudica with Beskar, Mandalorian Optics, Marksmanship, Deadeye Shot. I know how much JJ loves that combo to change a hit to a crit and back down to a hit to flip up a card. You got Boy Luke, and then you got Magva Yara with Jyn Erso and Leia. So just, I mean, it's not benthic. You don't get like the double focus pass. You don't get the evade off that, but you have Boudica, like, and Luke and Hera, and they're supporting everything. Magva does let you be a little bit more defensive because your opponents can only reroll one attack die, which is not negligible. It's not like oppressive, but it's like a solid defense. It's just like I like it. Luke with evade tokens is really annoying. And when Jyn Erso's in your list, you can just take the evade every turn with Luke that you're not just proton torpedoing things. Leia's really good for stopping a Magva, for Kang. It's also actually pretty speedy between Boudica, Sabine, and Hera. So it's a cool list. Very flexible. JJ, I know you want to do the second one.
Yes, absolutely. So I absolutely love this list. I had to look up exactly what one of these did, but we'll break it down here. So we got two B-wing pilots that we have not seen even get mentioned in any of our.
No, that's not a B-wing pilot anymore. It's an ARC now.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. It is an ARC 170. So Ibit Sim with Snapshot in the ARC 170, Netrim Pollard with Snapshot in the S foils. We got two Clan Ren volunteers with Snapshot and Beskar reinforced plating. We'll get to those in a second. And then Corn Horn in the X-Wing with Snapshot and the Server Motor S foils here. So secret tech here first. Corn Horn Snapshot. You essentially put your lock on Corn Horn. Somebody comes in to his range, he snapshots, then he can transfer that target lock onto one of them. Then when he engages at I-5 again, he gets to once again transfer out that target lock out there as well. This is of course assuming that Corn has a target lock on that ship there, but that's can be set up pretty well, especially with these Clan Ren volunteers. Now the Clan Ren volunteers, these are these flying fighters here. Their ability reads while you perform an attack at a range while you perform an attack at range 1, if the speed of your maneuver matches that of a friendly ship at range 1, you may roll 1 attack die. So what that means is all you have to do is line up these two ships next to each other and dial in the same speed every single time. You're rolling 4 dice with these Fang fighters. And since they want to be at range 1 to take advantage of their ability, you're basically getting mini Fenrals at I-4 shooting I-3 shooting at ships there that most likely have already spent their tokens for offense or defense there. Can be absolutely devastating with that. Netrim Pollard with Snapshot, he's that B-wing there, being able to, after he moves, just rotate. He can set himself up to be in unique spots to take advantage of Snapshot. And then Ibit Stom, being able to flip around constantly and just roll the dice to potentially take away his stress, makes him very, very flexible where he needs to go. Absolutely love this list. I actually want to try this, put this on the board here because I think that just using this loadout here, this could be a lot of fun.
This reminds me of that like Foresight list that we used to run back in 2.0 with the Grand Inquisitor or the Inquisitors or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. The generic Inquisitors. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm confused on Snapshot on Istaban. Like I get it. I guess it's just that free. Could you imagine having to play against this list? Like they're gonna go, hold on. I gotta measure every you're getting 4 rounds, maybe 5 if you're lucky.
Yeah, exactly. And it actually is nice on Ibit Stom because he's in that ARC 170, the medium base. That ARC is much wider on that ship, so you're more likely to get more reliably too. So you're basically getting free shots, potentially free damage onto ships, because usually after they fully execute a maneuver, unless they're a Jedi or a Force user, you're not going to have any tokens on that ship. So you have a pretty solid shot of getting free damage onto those ships there, and heck, free damage is great.
I mean, you got 3 3 I3s in Core and Horn. So
Yeah.
you're probably moving most of your ships before the opponent does.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is crazy. How many points is Snapshot? 7?
9.
Nine
Oh, God.
points on each.
All right, whatever.
Yep. Kind of impressive that the Clan Ren Volunteers have 12 points of loadout, but good on
Yeah,
them.
me too.
Yeah, maybe we're
I totally
sleeping on
gotta.
that.
Yeah, I totally gotta re-look at those Clan Ren Volunteers again, man. Because man, that is such a nice ability. With 2 of them just next to each other, being able to do it. I mean, heck, you can even do like if you really wanted to take full advantage of their ability, you can pair them up with A wings if you want to, since they can pretty much go 5 straight as well with the Y wings. You back them up with like Hera. You can pass on to mods and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of things you could do with these Fang Fighters. I think it's really good. And even add in Boudica on top of that, too. If they decide to try to shoot at one of these, man, I mean, it's nice.
Yeah, I mean, there's still I3 Fang Fighters, though. So,
Still, I mean, yeah, it's I3 Fang Fighters, but I mean, when they do hit, I mean, they're basically mobile proton torpedoes.
I mean, at range 1, yeah, they get the 4, but
All right, let's move on. I don't want to spend any more time.
Yeah.
All right, the next list, a little bit different FO list that we've seen. We have Fanatical, Proud Tradition, and Targeting Synchronizer, Midnight. We have the Concussion Missile, Advanced Optics, and he has Elusive on Kylo. So it's a little bit different. The Elusive there opting out of your instinctive aim, which I think is not the end of the world either. Though I don't know how many times you're doing a red maneuver with your ship there. So I don't know. I guess whatever I don't like that on my Kylo, but that's just me. And then you have Magpulse, Malorus, Gaelic with Swarm Tactics, Fanatical. And then you have Scorch and Dread. We got 2 bomber sightings. One of the bombers has bomblet generator, cluster missiles, feedback ping. And then we got Dread. I don't even know what that gunner does. What does DT-798 do? And then the concussion missiles on Dread. What does DT-798 do?
DT is at the start of the engagement phase. You can choose a friendly ship in your arc. They get a strain. And while you perform an attack, you can reroll a die for each ship in your attack arc with 1 or more non-lock red or orange tokens. So you can like give one of your friendly ships a strain so you could just re-roll a die.
Okay. All right. It's not
3
it's not the end of the
points.
world. Yeah, it's 3 points. So,
And like, I mean, they might have a jam token from Kylo, right? So that's an orange token. You can Swarm Tactics right up to 5, so you can actually use that ability instead of just shooting the guy that's got the strain token. I mean, you don't have to give out a strain token, I guess, too. You can just have a reroll if they're stressed or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's a neat little list. It's a little bit different. It feels a little weak on firepower, personally. But I guess if you could get your cluster missiles and concussion missiles off, maybe not. So, a little hodgepodgey.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got Targeting Synchronizer Midnight too, so that can help.
So
But
I could tell you it does help if you run it correctly, and people forget about Midnight because they don't care about Midnight because nobody cares about like the 2 dice gun coming after them. But Midnight with that target synchronizer, I have 100% not been in any shots and lock something just so Kylo can shoot.
Yeah,
and that's it. And it's a free instinctive aim effect.
I've used it with Malorus to shoot a Magpulse after I moved first at another I5.
Yeah. And then you don't have to use Malarus's ability if you don't only have like one shot. You just got the focus, and you can shoot the mag pulse, and
I did that in the game that I covered for you, NCX.
there you go.
Exactly. That's literally why I brought it. It's like I want the mag pulse something first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. The last list we're gonna look at. I'll let JJ. What is the last list that has your favorite ship in it?
So we got an Empire list here. We got Rack again with Vader, Death Troopers, Dauntless, Agile, Ruthless, and Baffle. And then Juno Eclipse here in the TIE Advanced with Pattern Analyzer, Fire Control System, and Ruthless. Marek Steel with Ruthless, Marksmanship, and Afterburners. And then Tomax, the standard loadout version. And then finally the Black Squadron Ace TIE Fighter to round off the list there. Just being that cheap 2-point objective grabber to round off this list. This list really relies on basically sacrificing its own health in order to do a lot of damage there. You have 4 ships at I-5 that can do quite a bit of damage there. Typically, you want Rack and Tomax to start off the initial salvo with shooting their shots into a particular target, and then Juno and Marek to finish off there. Preferably Marek after Juno, just so you can get a chance to get those crits in and just choose what you want. Juno, definitely very nice piece for this, as she's able to get in there quickly with her ability to essentially do like a target lock into a boost and get into range, or if she is not stressed, just getting that pattern analyzer target lock boost to get into range 1 can be very, very good for her to get into a good shot for a good like range 1 shot with her ability. But yeah, solid list.
So does Pattern Analyzer actually let you? Because if you're doing the K turn, right?
Mm-hmm.
You perform your action. Does the boost trigger before the stress comes?
Yep. You're double
Correct.
stressed after you do
Yeah,
it.
you're double stressed. Yeah, but yeah,
Okay.
you can absolutely do that. Mm-hmm.
All right. That seems a little harsh. If it were me, I don't know if I'd want to do that.
People have done it before. We're like trigger happy Poe. I've done it actually a couple times where I'm just like, oh, I need to do this, so this is bad. I guess I'll just be double stressed.
Yeah, and sometimes you end up in a bad spot, so having the option to like do a pattern analyzer barrel roll and then boost out to arc dart somebody can be really, really key with Juno.
Gotcha. All right, let's move on to the next one. Is Gamers Guild in Arizona. Master Yoda took the whole tournament down, it looks like. Good job, Master Yoda, taking that down. They had a top cut. It looks like they did a top cut of 4. A couple of lists in there we've seen before. I guess I wanted to highlight. Well, we want to cover the winner because it's got 3 X-wings in it and Han. I don't know. It's a little crazy. Alex, what did the winner take?
Yeah, so the winner took a 4-ship rebel list. It has Han, the Bistan Perceptive Trick Shot. You got Boy Luke, and then you have Cluster Missile R3 Hopeful Corran Horn, and R3 Cluster Missile Hopeful Thane Tyrell. Don't know why, but you do. And you got that's a lot of attacks, right? You got a double shot at I-6. You got Luke's Pro Torp. Then you got possibly 2 shots from Corran and 2 shots from Thane. And now you just pass initiative 5. So, like, you could put a lot out there.
Do you think this is a better build than taking those ships and breaking it down into, like, Keo, Wedge, and Sabine?
Nah. I think I'd rather have Keo, Wedge, or Sabine just because objectives. That's pretty they're just good objective runners, so
fair enough.
I'd rather play and then instead of
just be aggro. Yeah. All right, JJ, what did Elaine bring?
All right. Well, we got here a. Oop, I'm looking at the wrong one. So we got a Republic list here with Oddball in the ARC 170 with Selfless Veteran Tail Gunner R4P Astromech, Rick Olay in the N1 Starfighter with Daredevil Crackshot R2C4, which, if I remember correctly, is the droid that lets you spend your evade to change your focus into a hit on offense. Then we got Kickback with Diamond Boron and Munitions Failsafe, Contrail with Predator and Shield Upgrade, a Matchstick in the Y-Wing with Seismic Charges, Ion Cannon Turret, and Delayed Fuses, and then Stub in the Clone Z95 with the Shield Upgrade to round off the list there. You got some solid options here between Oddball, Rick Olay, and Kickback, and Contrail. Just having those 4 I-5 ships being able to go out onto the board, do quite a bit of offense with their abilities, and soften up different opponents there. Matchstick, though, I love Matchstick. He's my favorite Y-Wing pilot for the Republic. If you're able to set up round 1 all your friendlies target locks onto Matchstick, he basically has all the rerolls he needs on offense to attack with that Ion Cannon turret, and then Stub being able to switch between that offensive and defensive ability, just depending on what speed you're going, is a really, really great tool for this list. So very solid.
Yeah, that Stub is different, right? Like, that's a 3-point ship.
Yeah, I mean, that's the upgrade you take on Stub, though.
Yeah. It probably lives longer, but it's still like a 5 health 2-die gun for 3 points. I don't know.
It could be a 3-die gun.
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
It can be if nobody shoots at it. You're right.
no, it's the one where it's like,
I know, but if I've got guns coming at me, I don't want just 2 green dice. I'm gonna not live.
sure, I guess. I mean, sometimes you don't have a choice in the speed of your maneuver.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a list.
Yeah, I like the Rick Olay piece on there. Like, I think that's kind of saucy.
Oh, I don't like that Rick at all. I don't like Rick in general, though. So I really also don't like R2C4. Ugh. But
yeah, I don't know. I've seen it work before, so I just
shout out to the guy in 4th, though, who's running a very similar Ray list of what I run. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Except for he did Elo, because resistance, you have to choose Elo.
All right, so let's move on to the last one that we have tonight from Freedom Hobby Gaming in Ohio.
Lovely Akron.
Alex traveled 6 hours in one day to play a store tournament. So
got him up to 16 people. That was the important part.
Yeah.
Supporting the community. Hell yeah.
Yeah, this one was a little far for my taste. But I live on the west side too, so. And these guys are crazy. They like to do the round trips all, and I would have just gone to Ohio for a weekend and hung out.
I don't want to be in Ohio for a weekend.
Yeah, it's not that big a deal. Last time when we went down for Rust Cup, it was pretty fun. So
yeah.
All right, so our winner was Nate May Ablazoned. Nate finally it was able to secure the official thing. Cody must not gotten on lift you either, because I don't see Cody's name in there.
No.
But Nate May took it down. What did Nate run, JJ?
So we got a resistance list here. We got Elo Atsi with the foils R68, Crackshot, Neednum with HLC, the BB-8 Astromech Pattern Analyzer and Marksmanship, Jared Giger with the title, targeting computer over 2 modulators and concussions, Lula with shield upgrade, marksmanship and predator, Zori with plasmas, wartime, and R4 Astromech and dorsal. Just solid overall list. I mean, you got all 5s on here in this list here. You can do definitely a lot of work to offensively to take on a lot of different ships on there. Yeah, it's a very solid list. I like it a lot.
Yeah, Nate's 5x5 list. It's improved from what he ran in Rust Cup. What do you think about that Elo build? That's catching popularity.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I mean, that's the R68 is the bullseye droid, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you combine that with crack shot, you're pretty much guaranteeing that you're going to get damage to go through, especially on these like 3 agility ships that are running rampant right now. If you're able to get that bullseye lined up, you can definitely do a lot of work and do a lot of damage.
Yeah, he was my only loss, and I think he continues to be the only person I ever lose to in Ohio, other than other fellow Michigan people. So he is continuing his reign of Michigan dominance, annoyingly.
Nice.
But I mean, he flies super, super well. I also like that 9-nub build. I think that might be my favorite version of it. Maybe you can get away with not putting HLC if you want something like Plasma Torps. But like the other parts of the list kind of means you don't have to do that. They kind of carry that. But it's pretty cool to do like a BB-8 like boost into like a bank boost, then Talon roll behind them and do the 9-nub shenanigans.
Yeah.
So it works pretty well.
All right. The next list is by Mr. Chris Molly, running a. I don't know. This is kind of like Alex's list a little bit.
It's
but
my
not really.
Afra.
Yeah,
Straight
it's your
stole that.
Afra. Another appearance of Snapshot. There you go. Snapshot making top cut all over the place. Look at that. So we got the Fenrau with the Beskar, Mando Optics, Fearless, and Clan Training. Then we have Old Tarak, Mando, Beskar, Fearless, Marksmanship, and then a Leighton
Ashera with the snapshot.
With the snapshot. So, all right, cool. I guess it kind of works on an M3A, right? Because they don't move super far all the time, and I don't know. And then we have Dr. Afra with Houndstooth, Babu, Deadman, Dengar, 000, and Lando. Pretty neat little build there. I am super confused on Leighton and with Snapshot, but I guess what else
Free
do you
evades?
put on Leighton? So
You'd either get free evades by shooting people or free damage by shooting people. Like, because if you miss an attack, you just gain an evade token, right? So you snapshot
Yep.
and you get a free evade. I don't think it's the best use of 3 points in Scum, especially when Lima's not in your list. But you know, he was very adamant about how much he enjoyed that. He was going on and on.
I mean, it's Snapshot, so you get to put Snapshot on the table, so that's
I
probably
love
fun
snapshot. I
by
gotta
itself. So
do
Yeah.
something with all the alt art snapshots I have.
Yeah, right.
I don't even own that. I don't own that many. So
I mean, I used to run them back when I ran my snapshot FO list. I ran all those special snapshot cards. Those were fun.
So, no, it's I mean, his only loss was also to Nate. So, what are you gonna do? But that's. I wish I could have seen that more. I just saw like a very tail end of a game where he's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna target lock with Fenrau and then Clan Training and just get this double modded range 1 shot and just wreck this ship right off the table.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it to some extent you have to have. If you're not having fun, what's the point of running your list, right? Like so.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you want to win, but at the same token, I mean, if you get, I will say it is a little cheeky to get that free evade, right? Like, I mean, it gives you the ability to do whatever you want with your turn. You could take like an objective, right? There's a lot of things you can do with it, right? Because I think it gives you a little bit more, but I will say, yeah, like just being able to run a Y-wing with Plasma Torp seems pretty good too. So
I still don't believe in Fangs right now in this meta. But
yeah, I mean, I don't know, because the Fen is just that one extra point over what you have with Soontir, right? And yes, Fen gets a free evade at range 1, but man, you catch Fen out that range 2 meta.
Oh yeah.
it just seems like an uphill battle with like Hans, everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there was a lot of Hans at your tournament there because you ran a Lando. That's not Han. What would you bring, Alex?
I brought a Lando list. I'm not sure if I'm done iterating on this yet. I'll switch up some of the stuff on LO, honestly. But yes, Lando with not Ray Gunner, because instead I took Lone Wolf, Corsella, and Agile Gunner, and C3PO crew, and Contraband in the title, of course. I got Jarek with Marksmanship, Magpulse, Contraband, Targeting Computer in the title. Ella with Marksmanship, Heroic, and Plasma Torps. Snap with Predator, R2D2, and then BB-8 with Han Solo crew and Targeting Computer. It is a super silly, super fun list. If Lando kind of just goes unchecked, like if I'm not like by my dudes, he just does literally anything he ever wants.
I do have to
okay.
ask, how many times were you able to take advantage of 3PO's ability with BB-8?
Anytime I didn't actually feel like coordinating the people I was actually in range to, I just coordinated across the BB-8. I would
Jam.
run BB-8 into like maybe a group of people, take the calculate, and then Lando can coordinate them like 3 evades or whatever with Han. So really dissuades people. A lot of the times I use it for jamming after I've already moved. I did it to arc dodge once, but also I did it and when BB-8 was stressed and it just auto failed, but I coordinated, and that's the important part because I got a free calculate with C3PO crew.
Nice.
Yeah, so I get I do the coordinate to anything, get a calculate, and then Lando's ability to target lock. And then boost or whatever. I don't really care. Like Lando just literally does whatever he wants.
So is this the list you're contemplating running for Worlds?
I wanted to throw it on the table. I think I'm going to swap out Plasma Torps on LO. I don't like LO at all. I don't know what I'd switch to. For a while, I ran them with R68, and that actually worked pretty well. It was like R68, Magpulse, and that was fun. But I also ran Prockets on Jarek, so didn't do it for this time. I was trying some other things. I put Heroic on the wrong person because Snap needed Heroic 7 times during the tournament. And died a lot of times because of that. But R2D2 does regen shield, so if he's around, like he'll be around to use R2D2 generally. So unless I played Nate, who just killed Snap in one shot when he had 1 shield because he got the fuel leak direct hit combo.
Oh,
which I called after he did it. So, I played Jay Bark. He's from Pittsburgh. We were working on. He took my scum list and flew it for a bit, and he made some changes. So we flew against each other in the final round in this, and that was super fun because I got to show him that Lando is basically a scum ship, but in a better faction. It was a great tournament. The place was so cool. It's 2 floors, which is nuts. There is so much space. I wish we had nicer things around me.
Yeah, maybe you should move to Ohio, Alex.
No.
All right. So to round out the episode, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, we are going to go through the faction rankings. So we originally ranked our factions. I brought the list here for y'all to look at. We originally did a May ranking and an October ranking, and you can see some of it changed a little bit between each of us. Me and Alex are pretty set in stone on who we had as our number 1. And then I went through Pattern Analyzer and I kind of took what they had for the top rank in factions, as you can see down here. And based on the amount of wins, which faction came in the highest? So, the top faction is Rebels. Sorry to say, Alex, it's not Resistance, but Resistance came in.
Oh,
hot
they won
next.
the most. Faction performance says otherwise.
What do you mean?
Go look at the faction performance. Resistance is on top.
Yeah, but they had the most wins. So this is saying they had a better win ratio over the amount of games they had, but they didn't win the most, which is what we ranked our factions on last time. I'm just trying to be consistent with what we did last time.
I ranked them on what I think would be the best factions.
You did, and they're saying this one has more victories, so just saying. And we had Resistance. Empire came in next. Republic behind that. First Order, and then CIS and Scum, which technically they tie, right? Like they technically they actually had the exact same amount of wins, 25 each. So really, I don't know. The only other tiebreaker I had was just this, but I mean, as you can see, for the most part, they're just meh, I guess. So they both came in on the bottom end there for that. So guys, what do you think? Would you still rank them in the same way as before?
I definitely would want to give my Resistance a higher ranking. Probably put them over Republic. But at the same time, like, in CIS, definitely keeping them at the bottom there. I don't know. Like, I feel like Empire should be rated higher, but just based on the performance for everything else, like, I don't know. I think that, that swap would probably just align everything right just for me.
You could, except for the numbers say you're wrong.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like
the numbers are telling you you're wrong, JJ. The Resistance is definitely better than the fourth place on there. So one of the questions, I guess before I get into the question, Alex, how about you? Anything you would swap around inside of that piece there?
If we swap FO and Empire, I am almost I am like basically exactly the faction performance. So I made these rankings based on what I think like the better factions are, not like the amount of wins, because you're gonna have double the amount of people playing Rebels as like any other faction, except for Empire, but that's also like super high up. So I like it. I still think there's a lot more stuff in FO for people to toy around with. To get those numbers higher, that'd be nice. But I'm pretty content with where it lies.
Yeah, I think the only issue you have when you do some of those things right, like, is does FO have the ability though to start knocking off some of those top lists, or is everything going to be faction dependent? And I think that's kind of some of the questions that we got to like equate into the discussion as we move forward, right? Because FO has seen some excess, so has Republic, but if we have untapped stuff, it's that untapped mystery, right? That comes in there that doesn't actually factor into any of the performance. And we're way too far into the season at this point to be like, here's a new meta FO list. Like, I think they can emerge, and I think that's what we're seeing with Republic. Like, we went from everybody wanting that Arc Padme list to now we're seeing even a seventh ship list. Start making it up there, and so I think Republic has started to experiment out of the box. We have seen some FO experiment out of the box. I mean, we had that double bomber list that was definitely different. So what would you think would make it go up higher, right? Because if you look at faction performance, technically FO exceeds Empire in faction performance overall, right? So that means based on your standard deviation and the understanding of it, technically First Order has performed better than it's been predicted it should perform.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. There's just pieces in FO that I think people aren't just like cobbling together, right? Like, not a lot of people flew like Vader on rack for a really long time, right? So like there exists a possibility of something like that can switch up the meta. I mean, a lot of that also had to do with the bombers, but like people were running Vader with a bunch of bombers too, and then people are just like, rack's really good. Vader crew has always been really good, and for some reason they lowered his points, so try him out. And then now that's probably the best list in Empire, and that didn't come until like basically Crossroads, right? It was like the first top with like that style rack list, and even then that was Volscaris before Faroff. So I don't think it's going to have like that huge of an impact. Like, it's not a secret rack hanging around in FO, but there's still a lot more things than just, I'm going to bring 3 TIE fighters and a couple whispers.
Yeah, I think just not having, I mean, you can really see, right, that the factions that ended up getting expansions over the last year, meaning like the scenario packs, are in the top. The only outlier, of course, being CIS, not really getting that big of a boon from the Siege of Coruscant pack, but you look at Rebels, you look at Empire, you look at Republic. These are factions that are doing really, really well. Resistance, despite not having it, is that outlier, doing very well despite not getting really any new pilots as of late. The biggest thing that they got was the Pope Falcon from the Hot Shots pack from last year, and that definitely has seen quite a lot of play. But really, once the last points update came last year after Adepticon, with Ella dropping to 4, Resistance has had quite a lot of different variations of their builds that made them quite effective in being able to field high initiative ships that can do damage and still survive a good gauntlet. They have probably the best 5 ship list right now between all the different factions, being able to do it, and that's because their points were costed appropriately. If we want to see FO and CIS and Scum kind of rise up to match what they can do, they need those options available in those factions in order for them to perform better for the following season.
Yeah, well, I think let's avoid talking about the following season because we're here now, right? Like, we don't have a crystal ball to know what they're going to actually change or do. So you can see 5 ship lists are obviously the top. Not very many 8 ship lists running, very few 7 ship lists. They do exist. And people have even moved away from a 3 ship list outside of like what CIS really, right? Though I don't know, there's always that discussion point. Can a 3 ship list sustain itself in this meta? And I think if we move down to compositions, right? So we start talking a little bit about what are the most popular compositions. This doesn't mean this is the highest win rate. This doesn't mean any of that stuff. All it is what are the most things that you're going to see. So the Republic one or the Rebel one is on top, the one that we know about, right? The Han and 2 A-Wings, Luke and Sabine. And then after that, we have some sort of a Fang fighter, Han, an A-Wing, and Luke, pretty much. Right? Because in the 4 ship list, you're probably bringing Luke. And then you have the 5 T-70s, right? And some of that's because they have the ability to be easily put on the table. It's a rather cheap-ish style purchase that you can make getting into the game. And it has at least a 50% win rate, right? Like, so if you tweak it a little bit, you add Zori in there, Zori's win rate and percentage level goes like off the charts. Like, you just adding her into it adds a almost 5% win rate for that group. Plus the percentile it comes in at is even higher, like just comparatively. So, I don't know, guys. Is there anything in some of these we'll do the top 11 first, and then if we want to go farther down, we can go farther down. Is there anything composition wise that we're seeing that, is out of the norm, or B, probably shouldn't really be there.
I mean, just look at number 11, right? You know, the CIS. The only thing I see here for CIS being the double fire spray and dirge list there. I mean, this is an archetype that has been with the game for such a long time, and I think this is probably the only successful 3-ship list that we're seeing in X-wing total across all the factions there. These fire sprays are still very, very good for what they can do, and you know they do have a pretty decent win rate coming in at 52.8%, despite only being 3 ships. You know, granted, 2 of them are 2 medium bases, and they can do very well in assault. But when you go to like scramble, or rather, sorry, not scramble. When you go to salvage, you know, this list suffers for competing for points in that particular objective. Though, despite that big handicap in that scenario, they still do very, very well. I would love to see more archetypes like this for other lists there, but I mean, this is just a classic list, and I'm glad that it's still doing very well, making it to the top 11.
Alex, anything out of the ordinary you see in there that
I'm surprised, honestly, that many people brought like Von Reg Kylo and presumably like LeHughes and a couple TIE fighters. I didn't think it'd be like that high of people doing that. Maybe it's because that's, you know, 2 I6s and 3 I5s, right? So it's a bunch of high initiative, and people love that. So that's kind of like the only surprise. By and large, I mean, the other ones just kind of make sense, right? It is kind of impressive how quickly the rack list started rising up, but that's on the other page. But like just in general, you can see like number 10 is like the triple bombers Vader list. And then if you scroll a little bit down, which we'll talk about, you can see how close like the rack list is, right? Because like not no one flies it, but not a lot of people do the Vader shuttle triple bomber list anymore. And then only 3 spots behind that, or a couple more spots behind that, 7 spots behind that, you get the rack lists. So that's cool.
Yeah. And I think that's some of, you know, if we scroll down, that's kind of what we're seeing is we see kind of a pretty major drop off. People are, you know, we got 50 lists or less of these compositions, right? And some of that is if that rack has only appeared in the last 3 months, you're missing 6 months, almost not quite 6 months, but you know, like 5 months worth of data because people weren't flying it. And it's not that we didn't have store champs. I mean, in fairness to AMG, they gave enough kits out that there was X-Wing being played throughout the majority of the year. I don't think there was much of a lull, at least not in our area. For the most part, there was something going on almost every month that we could go to. So I don't know.
Something that's also interesting, if you sort it by like last month, specifically last month,
it all changes.
The rack list is number 1. It beat out 5T70 and also YT70. So,
which is funny because, and I guess we'll get into this next week, but the discussion then becomes is like, you got to talk about objectives, right? Like, or not objectives, I'm sorry, obstacles, right? Because if people are bringing a lot of bloody racks, do we tech against Han, or do we start teching against Rack? You know, like that's the bigger question, I think here. So, and I do agree with you. There's a million other ways we could slice this. I just didn't know how much time we should spend doing that, because we're really just going to get faction specific. And at that point, we can slice and dice this by the faction a little bit easier.
Yeah, I mean, and the other biggest thing I see here, right, is like in the top 11, just seeing Rebel having the most amount of archetypes making the top there. Granted, you know, 2 of them was actually all 3 of them does include Han in some form, but still, you know, being able to have 3 variations of that particular list be that successful and make it into like the top 11 there is really nice there. And when you look at the Resistance, the other faction that has 3 up there in the top 11, they're very, very different across the board, right? You know, the only similarities is probably that Zori with the T-70s there, but you know, having that I believe it's Poe with 3 X-wings, Orlando with 3 X-wings, making it there
or
as well.
Ray.
Or Ray, exactly. And that's the best part of it too, right? Is that particular chassis has 3 viable pilots that can really work together with the rest of the list there and still be very, very successful. And that's great for the faction.
All right. Any other observations or comments before we wrap up for the night?
No. I mean, it seems.
No, not at all.
I'm excited for Worlds. Gotta figure out whatever list I want to fly.
Well, you're flying Lando. That's what I heard, because you've talked so much shit about Lando. Like, now it feels like you have to run Lando.
No, that's what I did in Ohio, because I was telling these people about Lando, and look at me go.
Mm-hmm. Well, 3-1, not bad. So, yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up for tonight. We'll be back next week, 9 p.m. Eastern, to discuss. I don't know, what factions are we going to go through first? Do we just do CIS and Scum first, just to get it out of the way? Like,
yes.
Do we just do this,
Absolutely.
even though we like? I'm not going to tell you shouldn't run some of this stuff, right? But maybe we call the bench line Scum and CIS for now. And this is if this is the bench line, if you can beat these lists, you know you have a decent list. If you cannot beat these lists, we probably got a problem there. And we are going to cover, when we do the CIS, we are 100% going to cover that SOC Swarm list, because I did put that on the table the other day, and there is some leg viability to that. How well it holds up against some of these other meta lists, I don't know. But I could tell you, if you could take 3 droids off the board, you're screwed. But if you only take the 1 droid off the board, like, there's a lot more that goes into that in terms of that first round than you can imagine. So, Either which way, we'll be doing that. So we'll cover. Is that what we're going to cover first, guys? The CIS and Scum.
Yeah, let's do CIS and Scum. Yep.
All right. So we're going to do that next week. That's going to be our faction. That's going to be our whole episode, essentially, just those 2 factions. And then we'll decide next week after that what we want to do from there. But those are going to be the 2 factions we cover on Planning Phase Syndicate. Thank you all. Have a good night. Make sure you like and subscribe here on Twitch, over on YouTube, and on your favorite podcasting app. Have a good night, and we'll see you on the Flippity Flop.
Have a good night, everybody.